acts of service. So you wouldn't know, because I'm putting in so much effort into serving, that you would know that I'm actually interested, attracted, and have some type of feeling in it. But there's a lot of people that pretend. What is it? Love bombing or gaslighting?
Well, that's
Love.
they're both similar, but not the same.
I call it love lighting. It's a little bit of gaslighting and love bombing, and a lot of people in this country, in the world, in the country, do that in order to just be in a relationship to settle. You shouldn't. I don't think you should have to settle for anything. I'd rather be by myself than settle. Otherwise, I will cheat.
Mhm.
Just because I can't.
So you love them and leave them. That's what they're feeling. Use and abuse them. Let me stop.
I would like to hear from Apple, because Apple is one of the main ones that really was into this conversation. Apple, what are your thoughts?
As far as Carmen's situation, I think she knows her husband more than anyone in this world, including his mama, daddy, all of that. And she knows what will work deep down. What I can suggest things, but it might not necessarily work, in their relationship. But I was thinking that if I was in a similar situation, I would absolutely stay up 10 or 15 minutes after he gets out of work. Maybe you can set yourself an alarm if you happen to fall asleep at 10 and he gets home at 11:30. Maybe you can set an alarm to wake yourself up, and just to see if he does want to, does happen to want to speak that night. And you can just go back to sleep if that's, if you don't have a problem with falling asleep. But I think you invest in that couple of minutes into your marriage could do wonders. But like I said, I'm not an expert. I don't know the insides of your marriage. I'm just speaking on what you brought forth to the panel. And as far as the mental cheating, I think that's a lot worse, because you have to build a relationship in order for it to be an emotional relationship. You have to build. That means that you're spending a significant amount of time with someone else, whether it's physically, verbally, or what have you. You're choosing to spend more time with someone else besides your spouse. And I think that's worse than the actual physical act, even though the physical act is very bad, because that can result in so many different problems. But the emotional aspect of it, that you're giving someone else the piece of you that's supposed to belong to me. But if you're not getting what you need or what you have to have in a relationship with me, I would rather you come to me and say, listen, you're not giving me what I need in this relationship. And I'm talking to my work husband, or I'm talking to my work wife, or I'm speaking to my best friend. And I want you to be that person I come to. I want you to be that best friend. I don't know if I'm making sense to anyone else.
You're making perfect sense.
Yeah, it's
sense.
perfect. I just
You're
dropped
making
the mic
perfect
drop.
sense.
Yes.
We all
You hit the
understand what
nail
you're
on the
saying.
head.
Hey,
I
Dad,
got
you
a
got
quick
something to
question.
say?
Yeah, I got a quick question to ask Carmen. Just, have you and your husband went to counseling?
We've been to several.
Okay, because someone said something about, your husband, better than anybody else, even the parents. But a lot of times, I tell you, I went through 12 years of marriage, and I didn't know until I went to counseling. A lot of stuff I didn't know. I thought I was there with that. It wasn't. And then that's when you figure it out, But it sounds like you guys have done that already. So
Yeah, we've been to marriage counseling. We've done it individually. We've done it as a group. We've done premarital. It was just at this point, like she said, Alpha said, that was a choice he made. And because that was a choice you made for 2 years consistently.
Right.
And that's, and that's the thing about relationships. Um, I'm gonna talk about this on Thursday on Upscale Live Worldwide. 50-50 relationships, do they exist? And the answer, my opinion is no. And the reason I say no is that nobody, if you're only doing 50-50, that means everybody's doing half the work. Some days you're gonna give 80%, and that person can only give you 20. Some days it'll be 49-51. But as long as everybody's carrying what they can carry emotionally, the relationship will work. You don't always have to have long, deep conversations, but you do have to at least acknowledge when something wrong, and not only acknowledge, come up with a plan to do something or not do something. Um, we all have those situations where we don't want to hear things, but sometimes we have to hear things. And I'm sure the person that's talking all the time about that gets tired of it. I know a lot of people do, but that's a part of relationship. You have to be able to relate. If we can't relate, then there's no relationship. Whether I'm family, whether I'm platonic, whether I'm romantic, whether I'm married, you have to be able to relate to the person that you're with. Madam D, what's going on? One of my other co-hosts from Upscale by Worldwide came on tonight. How are you doing?
I'm good.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. The question of the night is infidelity. Who does it more? Everybody basically said when it comes to financial as men, um, we were leaning more towards men for the emotional. I tend to think that women have more emotional affairs than men do, but then again, I'm a guy, so I'm probably biased. What do you think?
I I've always thought that it works both ways, that it's not gender based, that it's the individual, because if you're not getting it at home, then you probably will get it somewhere else, whether you're male or female, or you're gonna walk away from the situation altogether. But I don't think that it's one over the other, even though sometimes I know among girlfriends, sometimes we'll say men, cheat more, but honestly, I think it's both.
And so when you're thinking about things like that, and you're going through that, um, it's the stats say that men and women are unfaithful at about the same rate. I call it at parity. Is 28% for, and I'm talking melanated folks, 28% for black men, and 24% of black women say they have stepped outside physically. Now you can probably say it's a lot higher with the mentally, and maybe not as high financially. But the thing is that sometimes people think they need to get what they're missing on the inside, outside, somewhere else, and that may be the case initially. But if you can't solve the problem with the person you're with, you're gonna have issues regardless, no matter where you go and who you with, because you hadn't resolved what those issues were in the first place. Go ahead, Apple.
This is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I think once a woman cheats physically, she's already gone emotionally. It takes a lot for a woman to actually cheat on a partner that they're invested in my opinion.
No, I agree.
It is true.
That's why men can't take when women cheat, because they understand it's more than the physical act. The physical act may be a culmination, but she was already emotionally involved, and that's kind of, I'm not saying that's a 100% tried and true, but that's usually what happens. If a woman decides to go physical, that means she's already mentally she's already mentally involved with that person. So it doesn't necessarily have to lead to physicality, but it can get to that point. You know, that's the thing. And I mean, you're not. It's not controversial. That's pretty much how it happens a lot of times. We don't look at we don't look at it from that point, but that's what happens, especially for men. The men, you know, one thing I learned is that you never put anything past anybody, and grown folks are going to do what grown folks are going to do, not taking responsibility, not saying that, you know, it happens, but you got to understand that you shouldn't put yourself in those positions so that it would happen, because that's what happens. People put themselves in positions. Go ahead, Bean. You're on mute.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry because technology and whatnot. Anyway, I agree with that. Once you like, because I said I've done it. I have cheated on people, but at the same time, I was already ready to leave the relationship. And then it's like when I did it, it was like how they say you don't quit one job before you find another. That was my thing, because I was completely done with that job. That job done sucker punched me, and HR was harassing me. So I was like, let me go on over here and find me something more my speed. Okay. Now, was that person my speed, or was that situation conducive to me? No. That's just why I'm permanent. I'm single on purpose, because I see that I have terrible taste in men. So I'd rather be by my dang self and deal with me and my foolishness than deal with anybody else. Like I said, the younger people at my job, like, oh, auntie, you need some D, or you need a man. I was like, nope, I don't feel like dealing with nobody's else's emotions. I ain't got the wherewithal to deal with nobody else's emotions. And I'm not a paramedic to where you can call the ambulance and you whining me, I'm leaving. So
Some they're having church. She's about to catch the Holy Ghost off of what you just said.
Hey, she sound like her mother, because you know, I love my mother. She was a wonderful woman, but she had as much empathy for us as in what could fit in a thimble. You can break your leg, and she said you shouldn't have been out there breaking
I
your
thought she stayed on the opposite side of everybody. All her
Oh,
kids.
yeah.
She wouldn't be on her kids' side. She'll be on the other people's side, saying that you picked them.
that's where it is, because I know my kids. I know what you are capable of. So yeah, I'm sorry. I got it. It's your side, their side, and the truth. So I'm a figure out what it is. Yeah, I am like my mother. Now, thank you for letting me know that, because I wondered where I got it from.
That was your mother, and I know I think I've known her longer than anybody in here, but that's a that's another story. Big Al, you've been kind of quiet, especially when it comes to emotional infidelity. Who do you think does it more, men or women?
Well, first, I want to acknowledge Miss Carmen Morrison. I love that name because that's my last name, Morrison. But I agree with